Okay, so let's talk about episode 5 of The Boys and that finale, that deception, the twist, the turns, everything. Seth Rogen in a scene we can't even talk about because YouTube guidelines, y'all. So before we get into all of this with The Boys and just what an insane episode there was, I mean, there was even a musical piece in here. That's how crazy this was. But before we get into that, hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button. On the road to 25,000 subscribers. We're trying to get there before Volume 2 of Stranger Things Season 4. And yes, we will be talking about the Season 4 Volume 2 teaser and the NBA Finals today. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe. But okay. So pretty much we saw Soldier Boy at the finale of the last episode escape the Russian compound where he was being held. Kimiko was on her deathbed, it seemed. But as we start this episode, Kimiko's stable and Soldier Boy's still out there. They find out exactly what was going on with Soldier Boy at this compound, and it ain't pretty, it ain't good. And we see Soldier Boy had been tested, he had been tortured. They were trying to find out just how invincible this skin was and all of that as well. But we also see that Kimiko now doesn't have powers, so it's still a mystery as to how that exactly might have happened. I thought at first that Soldier Boy's power was sort of like taking out your superpower, but at the end, no, not really. But we'll talk more about the end in a bit. So before we get into that, also, we need to talk about Homelander, who is much more paranoid, much more insane, and it's just a recipe for disaster. He's already in charge of Vought, as we know, after Edgar Stan having to step down, after Newman sort of was pressured by Homelander to bring him down. And as Edgar predicted, Homelander is going to bring Vought down. He's already doing insane decisions by putting the Deep in very top positions he shouldn't be in, and just the whole company being brought down to his knees because all that he cares about is approval ratings and just being sort of this image that people adore no matter what it takes. So that's all gonna really hit him in the face pretty soon, we can tell. Butch and Maeve actually hook up at a point this episode also, and Maeve also gets confronted by Homelander because of this, that he can tell that she's been with Butcher, and sort of tells her, you're not going to collude against me anymore. And we see Black Noir take Maeve, and we find out that it's to some resort, as Ashley puts it, but we know that ain't the case. We also see MM confront his wife's new husband as he's sort of becoming unhinged, loving Homelander a little too much and pushing it on his daughter, which he doesn't want at all. And we see that A-Train actually gets the meeting with Blue Hawk that Homelander promised him. It seems now that A-Train tried to do this thing where he gave up supersonic for all of this, and even then he's doing it the wrong way because Blue Hawk's just going to issue an apology, quote unquote, which is bullshit after everything that Blue Hawk apparently has done to the community. An apology is always just bullshit. You need action, and that was not the way. And we saw it backfire in A-Train as Blue Hawk sort of gave a half-ass apology and then doubled down on his racist rhetoric and pretty much injured a lot of people there, including A-Train's own brother, who now will not be able to walk. And we see Blue Hawk make up some lies about who actually did this. And it's funny, you see that how The Boys really does commentary so well on what we see today and the rhetoric that's used just with Blue Hawk alone right there. So A-Train knows now just how much bullshit it is, and he was just sort of having this fake way of seeing things, and he knows now he's just trying to appeal to Homelander. So it's going to be interesting how he tries next to go about it. So we'll see in the next episode. With Kimiko and Frenchie, Kimiko is now very much so stable, but Frenchie has some other stuff on his plate because Nina's kind of pissed of everything that happened in Russia, and she's pretty much like, you owe me now, you're going to do some jobs for me. Frenchie doesn't want any of that. And when we see Kimiko and Frenchie have a tender moment, Nina comes in and interrupts it and takes Frenchie. So I'm worried for my boy Frenchie. Worried. So back to Soldier Boy, who is now in New York, and we see him have this sort of Cap moment, but he's pretty much scoffing at everything that's new and all of that. And I think that's how Cap probably, that joke that everybody says, how he would react to things since he's like a super soldier from the 40s, 50s. And we see that Soldier Boy has this sort of moment where he hears Russian music, sort of PTSD of sorts, and just blows up, and this causes news cycles everywhere to pick it up. And Homelander's watching all of this, and in my opinion, he looked like he was terrified of this. He didn't know how to handle it. And I think this goes back to what Edgar said. that Homelander doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he needs someone to sort of clean his messes and tell him what to do. So we see Homelander trying to do a news cycle where he's talking to everybody on the news and telling them not to worry, that everything's going to be okay. But of course we know that they don't even know what they're going up against. So Butcher, MM, and Hughie decide to track down where Soldier Boy is going, and they ultimately do know that he's going to Crimson's house. So they get there before Soldier Boy can get there, tie up Crimson, and will use her as bait of sorts because they know that's where Soldier Boy's headed to. So Starlight's actually got in here already because MM called her up for backup, and Butcher and Hughie are kind of a little surprised, and Hughie goes to talk to Starlight because Starlight's kind of pissed that Hughie wouldn't tell them exactly what's going on or what they're going to do. And so they have a little chat on the side, and as this is happening, we see that MM gets drugged by Butcher, and Butcher's pretty much like, I had to do this because you wouldn't allow me to do what I'm about to do. And when Soldier Boy shows up, Butcher actually talks to Soldier Boy about a team up of sorts, and he can have Crimson and all of that, but they want to do a team up. We then see Soldier Boy confront Crimson about why they never came for him and how much did they get paid. Crimson's like, we didn't get paid anything, we just hated you, that's why nobody came for you. Soldier Boy in a fit of rage just kills Crimson. So we don't know exactly what happened there yet. We could hear from Black Noir, who was there as well, or we could hear from Edgar, who was also there. So I think that's an interesting storyline to still keep up, right? So after this, Starlight gets kind of pissed off with Hughie when Hughie explains that, yes, they were always planning to use Soldier Boy as the weapon to kill Homelander, and they're going to team up with him. Starlight doesn't advise on this. Homelander is crazy and whatnot, but you're dealing with Soldier Boy, who is a loose cannon as well, so what good is it going to do to throw two loose cannons, maybe get rid of one, and then you still have another one out there? So she's not with it, but Hughie says he's still going to go with it, and he leaves with Butcher and Soldier Boy to God knows what, right? So that's pretty much where we end our episode right there, with that big like deception twist, and I'm pretty sure MM is going to be pissed off about this, as we know Soldier Boy had a hand in his family's death, and we know he's not going to like this whole thing of teaming up with somebody who did that. I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly where Maeve is going to end up as well. I think that Homelander was giving her a chance, and I think now that he's become more paranoid and doesn't know exactly what he's doing, he's still trying to control much as possible at Vought, and I think he saw that Maeve was going to be this sort of like chaos agent there if he didn't get to her at first. I think the whole A-Train thing is going to be interesting to see if A-Train can redeem himself. I mean, everything he's done so far has made things worse, and now his own brother is not going to be able to walk is just sad, honestly. So yeah, I think like Soldier Boy, like I always thought deep down like Soldier Boy would never be with Butcher or anything like that. I think Soldier Boy is filled with revenge and sort of hatred of sorts. So I don't really see him going all the way, and like let's say if he does go and kill Homelander, like why would he even be with Butcher and Hughie's side after that? Unless Butcher really, well, he did say to Maeve actually in this episode that he was planning to take down every single Supe, not just stop at Homelander. So pretty sure he has something he wants to do against Soldier Boy as well. So I don't know, it's just an interesting episode, I think, and the next one should be interesting also because it is Herogasm. So we'll see what happens with that one, right? So I mean, the Seth Rogen also cameo, as I said at the beginning, we can't even discuss any of that because YouTube guidelines. But this episode was great, and I think that the whole thing with Soldier Boy is just incredible. But anyways, that's gonna do it for me. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, make sure you comment down below your thoughts and theories. I will make a theory video coming up. The next episode is Herogasm, so we're gonna talk about that. So make sure you also turn that notification bell on. Make sure you're subscribed. On the road to 25,000 subscribers, super close to that. Let's get to that before volume 2 of Stranger Things, which is July 1st. And as always, that's gonna do it for me. Make sure you check out my videos on Herogasm and the previous episodes, and my theory video should come out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. As always, stay safe, stay positive.